approach. Our weapons of warfare. I have found by personal experience that one of the most difficult lessons for the average Christian is to learn that our weapons for spiritual warfare are spiritual weapons. Now I'm going to break in here now. Makes all the sense in the world. Jehovah God, His Son, Jesus Christ, are spirit beings. We cannot see them. They have no human form, no physical form. The adversary and his followers, the demons or the fallen angels, are the same. Makes sense. So how do you fight spiritual warfare? How do you deal with spiritual beings, spiritual weapons? We're talking about spiritual warfare. Makes all the sense in the world, right? Okay. It sounds simple and it is in theory, but it is difficult in practice because even those of us who are biblical Christians still live much too much of our lives in the flesh. I think it's, this is my opinion, it's due to our imperfection. And that's just, we are physical beings. We have a spiritual aspect, but we tend to always go back to the physical. And we are creatures of sight. The Bible is clear. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10, verses 3 and 4. We are also so used to trying to solve social and economic problems through politics or legal problems through the courts, or personal disagreements through arguing about them, or international relationships through war, that to hear that God has a higher and more effective way through spiritual weapons is regarded as wishful thinking, even by many born-again Christians. This attitude needs to change. So what then are the weapons of our warfare? The central foundational activity for spiritual warfare is prayer. In one sense, prayer is a weapon of warfare. And in another sense, it is the medium through which all of the other weapons are utilized. So I want to stop here right there and let that sink in, because it's very powerful. And I'm going to read it again. In one sense, prayer is a weapon of warfare. And in another sense, it is the medium through which all caps on that, all of the other weapons are utilized. You cannot operate any of the others or do anything in regards to any of this without prayer. That's very powerful, I think. Now, a chief New Testament passage on spiritual warfare is Ephesians 6. And you guys know I love the book of Ephesians, especially when it talks about that, and especially when it talks about the full armor of God. Okay, so it says Ephesians 6, where we are told that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, and against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. And this particular one is, of course, Ephesians 6:12. We are told to put on, here we go, I love this scripture. We are told to put on the full armor of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. Ephesians 6:18. That's my go-to. Without prayer, we are impotent in our struggle with the enemy. Now, let's think about this. This proves His love for us. Because, of course, someone who loves us, He is giving us the tools. Someone that doesn't love us would not give us the tools to do this. Because to a big extent, actually, we are powerless without these tools. Now, when you think about the adversary is no one's ally. He is out here. When you turn on your news, you turn on your TV, you look when you're coming and going, everything that's happening is because of the adversary, and it's picking up. All these mass shootings, all these missing people, all this anger and divisiveness and all this war. This is not the works of God, Jehovah God and his son. This is the adversary and the fallen angels and the demons. This is not someone who loves you. This is not someone that's your ally. He came to kill, steal, and destroy, and that is exactly what he's doing. But it's not like we don't have any recourse. Jehovah God is showing us. He has been showing us. For how long have we been humans on this earth? Okay. If prayer is the central activity for spiritual warfare, the central attitude for those of us in the battle is faith and obedience. Let me say that again. If prayer is the central activity and a tool and the weapon of warfare, spiritual warfare, because it is a spirit war and it is manifesting in the physical, like what I was saying about the war, the killings, the abductions, the missing people, mass shootings. Okay, and I want to touch briefly on, I want to touch on it quickly. So let me just put a pin in this for a second before I forget. I was watching Miss Mary. Let me start with Miss Mary. Miss Mary loves mysteries, and I'm sure that I've said this before. She loves crime shows and mysteries. And something caught my attention for the first time, and I forgot what particular show she was looking at. But it had real, cases. It's not so much like, like let's say CSI or something that's a dramatization, with actors. These are real crimes. So she likes those too. But I was watching one in particular, and I think it was on Tubi. And there's a lot on Tubi. There's a lot of not so good stuff on Tubi, kind of, subpar. But I noticed something, and I said something to her while watching it with her. I said, do you notice that all the crimes, whether they be serial killers or whatever, unfortunate murders and acts of violence seem to happen in a certain month? And this particular one, and I wish I had paid more attention to what it was so I could refer you guys to it. It seemed like all of the crimes happened in the month of April, and they all seemed to, it didn't matter what year it was in, it would happen in the month of April. It looked like 80%, if not more, of these crimes that were not linked by geography, different or anything, was all in the month of April, and it stuck in my mind, and I never noticed that before, and I just noticed that recently. And then I came across something the other day when I started, like I said, to look up and research information about the origins of Halloween and the practices of Halloween and everything linked to Halloween. And I came across a website, and I think I may have told you guys about it. If not, it's called libertytothecaptives.net. Now, the content on this particular website looks like it's dated. It doesn't like something that's more current put up, like it's been up there for a while. But the information is still very relevant, very, very relevant. And it had dates for different, for Halloween, but different months and days that had to do with what, every time I say this, I kind of cringe. I don't know why, but I think it's due to conditioning of things that you are conditioned not to talk about, but rituals. People who follow this type of occult behavior, who are in